Dr. Kethavar moved her forearms carefully over the ancient control panel. The symbols carved into the metal were old, older than any civilization she knew. Her moth-like wings twitched with excitement as she worked. After 3 years of digging through the ruins on this dead planet, they had finally found something amazing. "Are you sure about this?" asked Captain Zoltak from behind her. The reptilian officer's scales changed color when he was nervous. Right now, they were bright yellow. "The power readings are stable," Kethavar replied. Her voice was soft, like all Valerians. "The machine is intact. We can activate it safely." The rest of the research team gathered around the massive, ring-shaped device. It stood 20 meters tall and was covered in warning symbols. The translation computer had worked on those symbols for months. The closest meaning it could find was the sleeping demon's gate, but the team thought it was just ancient superstition. Dr. Hesselin, a tall gray being with no mouth, spoke through his mind-link device. "The predecessor civilization built this. They were the most advanced species we know of. If they built a portal, it must lead somewhere important. Or somewhere dangerous," Captain Zoltak said. His scales were now bright red. Kethavar ignored him. She had spent her whole life studying dead civilizations. This was the greatest discovery ever made. The predecessors had vanished millions of years ago, leaving only ruins and questions. Now they might finally get answers. "Beginning activation sequence," she announced. The ancient machine hummed to life. Lights appeared along the metal ring, growing brighter as power flowed through systems that had been dead for eons. The air began to shimmer inside the ring. "Energy levels rising," called out Tekmar, the team's engineer. His blue skin glowed as he monitored his instruments. "Portal formation beginning." The shimmer became a swirl, then a window. Through it, they could see another world. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. A yellow star shone down on it all. "Magnificent," whispered Dr. Hesselin. "A living world." Kethavar's excitement grew. First contact with a new species was rare. The Galactic Confederation had not found a new intelligent race in over 1,000 years. Most species had already joined the peaceful alliance of worlds, or had destroyed themselves before achieving space travel. "Launching probe," Tekmar announced. A small metal sphere flew through the portal. Its cameras and sensors would tell them everything about this new world. The team watched the data stream in. "Oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere," Tekmar read from his screen. "Gravity is 1.2 standard. Temperature range is suitable for most known life forms and detecting intelligent life." "Show us," Kethavar demanded. The probe's camera feed appeared on the main screen. They could see a city below, with straight roads and rectangular buildings. Smoke rose from tall towers. Vehicles moved along the roads, though they seemed primitive, using wheels instead of anti-gravity. "They're in their industrial phase," Dr. Hesselin observed. "Probably just discovered electricity and mechanized transport." "Look at those creatures," said Captain Zoltak. His scales had returned to their normal green color. The probe zoomed in on the beings walking through the city. They stood upright on 2 legs, had 2 arms, and were covered in colorful fabrics. Their faces were flat with small eyes and strange holes that might be breathing vents. "Bipedal," noted Kethavar. "Similar body structure to several Confederation species. They should adapt well to galactic society." "Are they engaged in any conflicts?" asked the captain. Tekmar checked his readings, detecting some organized group activities. Large gatherings of individuals with metal objects, possibly ceremonial weapons for religious purposes. "Primitive religions often include symbolic warfare," Dr. Hesselin said. "Nothing unusual." Kethavar was already planning the first contact mission. The Galactic Confederation had strict rules about approaching new species. They must be peaceful, respectful, and careful not to damage the primitive culture. "Captain, I request permission to form a diplomatic team," she said. Captain Zoltak considered this. "The Ethics Committee will need to approve any contact." "Of course. But look at them." Kethavar pointed at the screen. "They're perfect candidates for Confederation membership. Intelligent, organized, but not advanced enough to be dangerous. We could help them skip thousands of years of development." The probe continued sending data. The creatures, they decided to call them humans based on a word their translation system picked up, seemed to live in organized groups. They had cities, roads, and what looked like government buildings. Some wore matching clothes and carried similar objects, suggesting military or police organizations. "They appear to have basic social structures," Dr. Hesselin noted. Leadership hierarchies, work specialization, artistic expression, all positive signs. What's their technology level? Asked Captain Zoltak. Tekmar pulled up more data. They use chemical combustion for energy and transportation. Some electrical systems, radio wave communication, very primitive by our standards, but solid foundations. Any weapons of mass destruction? None detected. The most dangerous things we've seen are small projectile weapons and chemical explosives. Nothing that could threaten a starship. Kethvar felt a thrill of anticipation. This would be the greatest first contact mission in galactic history. She imagined these humans joining the Confederation, learning from advanced species, contributing their own unique culture to the galactic community. "I'm sending a message to the Ethics Committee now," said Captain Zoltak. "If they approve, we can begin planning the contact mission." The team spent the next several hours watching the humans through the probe. They seemed busy, always moving and building things. Their cities were noisy and crowded, unlike the quiet, orderly places most Confederation species preferred. "They're very active," observed Dr. Heslin. "Perhaps they have shorter lifespans than most species." "That could explain their rapid development," Kethvar said. "Shorter lives might drive them to accomplish more quickly, or make them more reckless," Captain Zoltak added. But nobody paid attention to his worry. The Ethics Committee's response came back within a day. Contact approved. Standard first contact protocols to be followed. Diplomatic mission authorized. Kethvar assembled her team carefully. Besides herself, she chose Dr. Heslin for his xenopsychology expertise, Tekmar for technical support, and 2 security officers just in case. Captain Zoltak insisted on coming as well. "Remember," she told her team as they prepared to step through the portal, "we represent the entire Galactic Confederation. These humans are about to learn they're not alone in the universe. We must make a good first impression." "What if they're afraid of us?" asked one of the security officers. "Most primitive species experience initial fear," Dr. Heslin explained. "But once they understand we mean no harm, they usually become very cooperative. The promise of advanced technology and galactic citizenship is attractive to any intelligent species." Kethvar checked her translation device one final time. It had been programmed with what they'd learned of human language. She wore her best ceremonial robes and carried the traditional gifts of first contact, a star map showing their location in the galaxy, and a basic technological device to demonstrate peaceful intentions. "Are we ready?" asked Captain Zoltak. Kethvar looked through the portal at the blue-green world beyond. Soon those humans would be part of something bigger than they could imagine. They would learn about other species, other worlds, other ways of thinking. The galaxy would become a larger, richer place. "Ready," she said, and stepped through the portal into what she thought would be the greatest day of her career. She had no idea it would be the beginning of the galaxy's worst nightmare. The first thing Kethvar noticed was the noise. The human world was incredibly loud. Machines roared, voices shouted, and strange metal objects flew overhead, making terrible sounds. The air smelled of smoke and chemicals. The second thing she noticed was that they had appeared in the middle of a war. "This is not what the probe showed us," Dr. Heslin said through his mind link. His tall gray form looked very out of place among the human buildings. Humans ran everywhere, carrying weapons that were definitely not ceremonial. Explosions echoed in the distance. The sky was dark with smoke. "We need to leave," Captain Zoltak said immediately. His scales had turned bright red again. "This is a combat zone." Before anyone could move, human soldiers surrounded them. These humans wore matching green clothes and pointed metal tubes at the alien visitors. The tubes had holes in the end that Kethvar realized were weapons. "Don't move," one of the humans shouted in their strange language. Kethvar's translation device worked quickly. "Peaceful," she said in broken human speech. "We come in peace." The human soldiers looked confused but kept their weapons ready. One spoke into a small device calling for someone called Command. More humans arrived quickly. Some wore different clothes and carried different equipment. One stepped forward and spoke to Kethvar directly. "What are you?" he asked. "I am Dr. Kethvar of the Galactic Confederation," she replied, her translation device making her words sound strange in human language. "We come to offer friendship and membership in our peaceful alliance of worlds." The human's eyes went wide. He spoke rapidly into his communication device. Within an hour, the aliens found themselves in a strange situation. Instead of the worship or fear that usually greeted first contact, the humans treated them like prisoners. But they were polite prisoners, given food and shelter while more humans arrived to stare at them. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Heslin told the others privately. "Most species either run away or bow down when they meet spacefaring civilizations. These humans are studying us." The humans asked endless questions. How did they travel between stars? Where did they come from? How many of them were there? What weapons did they have? The questions came fast and often repeated as if the humans were checking for lies. "They're interrogating us," Tekmar realized. "Like we're enemy spies." "Impossible," Kethavar said. "We're offering them advanced technology and galactic citizenship. Why would they treat us as enemies?" They soon found out. A new human arrived. A female wearing different clothes than the soldiers. She spoke with authority, and the others listened to her carefully. She introduced herself as Major Sarah Chen. "We've been monitoring your portal," she told them calmly. "Our scientists have detected massive energy readings from the other side. We know you have advanced technology." "Yes," Kethavar said excitedly. "We can share it with you. Medicine, transportation, communication. We can help your species advance thousands of years." Major Chen smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "That's very generous. What do you want in return?" "Nothing," Kethavar insisted. "The Confederation exists to help younger species join the galactic community. All we ask is that you follow our laws of peace and cooperation." "Your laws," Major Chen repeated. "On our world." "Not just your world," Dr. Heslin explained. "Once you join the Confederation, you'll have access to thousands of worlds. Your people can live anywhere in the galaxy, under your government, under the collective government of all member species," Captain Zoltak said. "It's a democracy." Major Chen nodded slowly. "I see, and what happens if we say no?" The aliens looked confused. No species had ever said no to Confederation membership. "Why would you refuse?" Kethavar asked. "We're offering you everything." "At the cost of our independence." "Independence to do what?" Dr. Heslin asked. "Fight wars? Pollute your environment? Struggle with diseases we can cure instantly?" Major Chen's smile grew colder. "Independence to make our own choices. Good or bad." That was when Kethavar realized these humans were different from any species the Confederation had encountered. They valued their freedom more than their safety. They would rather struggle and fail on their own than succeed under someone else's guidance. "Let me show you something," Major Chen said. She led them to a window. Outside, human soldiers were setting up weapons pointed at the portal. Others worked on strange devices that Tekmar's scanner said were designed to emit electromagnetic pulses. "We've been at war for years," Major Chen explained. "We know how to fight enemies with better technology. We adapt. We're not your enemies," Kethavar protested. "Anyone who wants to control us is our enemy. It doesn't matter if you call it friendship." That night, the aliens heard explosions near the portal. In the morning, Major Chen showed them what remained of their probe. The humans had shot it down and taken it apart. "We've learned interesting things," she said, holding up pieces of advanced technology. "Your metal is stronger than ours, but not by much. Your energy systems are more efficient, but we understand the principles. Your weapons," she smiled that cold smile again. "You don't really have weapons, do you?" It was true. The Confederation had not fought a war in 1,000 years. Their ships had defensive systems, but no real weapons. They had forgotten how to fight because they had no enemies. "We should return to our ship," Captain Zoltak said nervously. "I'm afraid that's not possible," Major Chen replied. "We've had some visitors from your side." She led them to another window. Through it, they could see human soldiers dragging alien bodies through the portal. The aliens were alive but unconscious. "Your friends tried to rescue you," Major Chen explained. "They weren't expecting armed resistance. Their stunning weapons work well on their own people, but humans have different nervous systems." Kethavar felt sick. This was supposed to be a peaceful first contact. Now her people were being captured and studied like laboratory animals. "What do you want?" she asked. "Information," Major Chen said simply. "Everything you know about your technology, your government, your military capabilities. We need to understand what we're dealing with, and then we decide what to do about it." Over the next few days, more humans arrived. Scientists, engineers, military officers. They took apart every piece of alien equipment they could find. They asked detailed questions about Confederation military strength. Which worlds had the best resources? Which species were the strongest fighters? You're planning to invade us, Dr. Hesselin accused. Major Chen looked genuinely surprised. Invade? No, we're planning to defend ourselves. Against what? Against you. Your confederation. Anyone who thinks they can walk onto our world and tell us how to live? We only wanted to help. Nobody asked for your help. That was when Kethvar understood the terrible mistake they had made. They had assumed these humans were like other primitive species, grateful for guidance, eager to join something bigger than themselves. Instead, they had found a species that valued independence above everything else, and now these humans had access to Confederation technology. Through the portal came reports that human soldiers had taken control of their ship. The crew was alive but captured. The humans were studying everything, learning how their technology worked, preparing to build their own versions. Your people will come looking for you, Major Chen said during their last conversation. When they do, we'll be ready. Kethvar tried one more time to explain. The Confederation is peaceful. We don't fight. We don't conquer. We only want to help species grow and learn. Then you've never met anyone like us before, Major Chen replied. She was right. In a galaxy full of species that had learned to cooperate and compromise, that valued peace over conflict, that chose security over freedom, the humans were something new. They were something terrifying. As Kethvar sat in her comfortable prison, watching human engineers study her people's technology through the windows, she realized what they had done. They had opened a portal to a world full of creatures that thought like predators, creatures that saw any attempt to control them as an attack, creatures that would fight anyone and everyone to stay free. And now those creatures knew they were not alone in the universe. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The news spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The Confederation's emergency communications network carried the shocking report to every member world within days. First contact had gone wrong. The humans had captured a Confederation ship and were refusing to cooperate with established protocols. Admiral Veltar of the Confederation Defense Force read the reports with growing disbelief. In his 300 years of service, nothing like this had ever happened. New species were always grateful for contact. They joined the Confederation eagerly, happy to trade their primitive independence for advanced technology and galactic citizenship. They captured our people? He asked his aide, a young crystalline named Shardot. Yes, Admiral. The humans have taken control of the research vessel and are holding the crew. They're also studying our technology. With what purpose? Unknown, sir. But intelligence reports suggest they're reverse engineering our systems. Admiral Veltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his people. How long would it take a pre-spaceflight species to understand our technology? Normally? Centuries, sir. Maybe millennia for the more complex systems. And these humans. Shardot checked his crystal tablet. Early reports suggest they've already figured out our basic power systems and communication devices. Our scientists estimate they could have functional copies within months. Months? Admiral Veltar stood up, his tall blue form towering over his aide. That's impossible. Yes, sir. That's what everyone said. The Admiral called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Representatives from 50 species gathered virtually, their various forms appearing as holograms around a circular table. Most looked confused or worried. Counselors, the Admiral began, we face an unprecedented situation. A primitive species has gained access to our technology and is refusing diplomatic contact. Surely you mean they're afraid? Said Counselor Nethara, her tentacles waving gently. Most new species experience fear initially. No, Counselor. They're not afraid. They're hostile. The reaction was immediate. Several counselors spoke at once, their translators creating a babble of different languages. Impossible. Primitives can't be hostile to advanced civilizations. They must be misunderstanding our intentions. Admiral Veltar raised his hand for silence. I'm sending you the complete reports. Judge for yourselves. As the counselors read, their expressions changed from confusion to concern to alarm. They interrogated our people, asked Counselor Thexman, his rocky features showing shock. They dismantled our equipment? They're building weapons? According to our intelligence, the Admiral continued, the humans have already begun constructing their own versions of our technology. Their manufacturing capabilities are surprisingly advanced for their development level. What do they want? Asked Counselor Nethara. That's the problem. They don't want anything from us. They want us to leave them alone. But that's ridiculous, said Counselor Murdak, his slug-like body rippling with agitation. Why would anyone refuse galactic citizenship? Admiral Veltar had been wondering the same thing. The Confederation offered everything a species could want. Advanced medicine that eliminated disease and extended life, technology that made work unnecessary, access to thousands of worlds for expansion. In return, member species only had to follow the Confederation's laws of peace and cooperation. Our xenopsychologists believe these humans value independence above comfort, he explained. They would rather struggle on their own than accept help with conditions. That's insane, whispered Counselor Thexman. Perhaps, but it makes them unpredictable. And dangerous. Dangerous? Counselor Nethara's tentacles curled with amusement. They're primitives with stolen technology. What could they possibly do to us? Admiral Veltar was about to answer when an aide rushed into the room. The young officer's face was pale with fear. Admiral, emergency report from the Outer Rim. What is it? Human ships, sir. They've appeared in the Kepler system. The council chamber fell silent. The Kepler system was 300 light-years from Earth. How many ships? The Admiral asked quietly. 7, sir. They've made contact with the mining colony on Kepler 4. Are they attacking? No, sir. They're trading. Admiral Veltar felt a chill run through his body. Trading what? Medical supplies and technology, sir. In exchange for rare metals and detailed star charts. Counselor Murdak made a strangled sound. They developed faster-than-light travel in 6 months. It appears they reverse-engineered our systems faster than we thought possible. The aide continued. And, sir, the colonists are accepting their offers. Why would anyone trade with primitives when they have access to Confederation resources? Asked Counselor Nethara. The aide looked uncomfortable. The humans are offering better deals, sir. Their medical technology is actually superior to ours in some ways. Superior? How? They've improved our designs, sir, made them more efficient and easier to use. Admiral Veltar closed his eyes. In 6 months, these humans had not only copied Confederation technology, but improved it. And now they were spreading through the galaxy, offering better services than the Confederation itself. There's more, sir, the aide continued. We've received reports from 17 other systems. Human ships have appeared at mining colonies, research stations, and trade posts throughout the Outer Rim. Are they conquering these places? No, sir. They're making business deals. The implications hit everyone at once. The humans weren't invading the galaxy. They were competing with it. And they were winning. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Thexman. They've had our technology for 6 months. We've had it for thousands of years. Admiral Veltar thought about the reports from Earth. The humans had been fighting wars against each other for their entire history. They understood competition, conflict, and improvement in ways the peaceful Confederation had forgotten. Send fleets to the affected systems, he ordered. We need to contain this situation. What are our orders regarding the humans? Asked the aide. Admiral Veltar looked around the council chamber. The faces staring back at him showed confusion, fear, and anger. These representatives came from species that had lived in peace for centuries. They had never dealt with a competitor before. Standard containment protocols, he said finally. Surround their ships. Demand they return to their own system and escort them back if they refuse. And if they resist. The Admiral hesitated. Confederation ships were designed for defense and peacekeeping, not warfare. They hadn't fought a real battle in over 1,000 years. They won't resist, Counselor Nethara said confidently. Once they see our numbers, they'll submit. All primitives do. Admiral Veltar hoped she was right, but he had a bad feeling about these humans. Any species that could improve Confederation technology in 6 months was not going to be intimidated by large numbers. The First Fleet reached the Vega system 3 days later. Captain Mortek commanded 12 ships against 2 human vessels. It should have been a simple matter of overwhelming force. The human response came immediately. Confederation vessels, you are interfering with legitimate trade activities. Please withdraw or we will consider your presence an act of aggression. Captain Mortek almost laughed. 2 primitive ships against 12 advanced vessels, and they were making threats? Human vessels, you are in violation of Confederation space law. Surrender immediately and prepare to be escorted to your home system. Negative. We're not Confederation members. Your laws don't apply to us. All spacefaring species must follow Confederation law. Says who? Captain Mortek realized he had no answer for that. The Confederation's authority came from the agreement of member species. But what about species that refused to join? You will comply or face consequences, he said finally. What consequences? Again, Captain Mortek had no answer. The Confederation had no policy for dealing with hostile non-members, because such a thing had never existed before. The humans took his silence as weakness. Captain, his sensor officer called out, the human ships are moving. Instead of fleeing, the human vessels split up and began circling the Confederation fleet. Their movement patterns were unlike anything in standard combat manuals. Sir, they're targeting our engine systems with some kind of disruption beam. Return fire. Sir, our weapons are configured for stunning organic targets. They have no effect on ship systems. Captain Mortek watched in horror as his ships lost power one by one. The humans had somehow created weapons designed specifically to disable Confederation vessels without harming the crews. Within an hour, his entire fleet was drifting helpless while human ships moved among them like predators. The final transmission came from the lead human vessel. Captain Mortek, this is Captain Williams of the TES Defiance. Your crews are safe, but your ships are disabled. We'll return them to Confederation space in a few days. Consider this a lesson about interfering with human business. The news reached Admiral Veltar within hours. 12 ships disabled by 2, no casualties but complete defeat. Similar reports came from every system where Confederation forces encountered humans. The humans didn't destroy or capture. They simply neutralized threats and continued their business. They're not invading, Admiral Veltar realized. They're expanding, and we can't stop them. Admiral Veltar stood before the largest military gathering in Confederation history. Representatives from every member species filled the massive war room, their various forms creating a strange rainbow of colors and shapes. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was preparing for war. The situation is clear, he announced to the assembly. The humans represent an existential threat to our way of life. They refuse to follow our laws, they compete with our services, and they defeat our fleets. We must act decisively. Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber. General Coxtar of the Reptilian Defense Corps stood up, his scaled form impressive even among the diverse crowd. My fleets are ready, Admiral. Give us the coordinates of Earth, and we'll end this threat permanently. As are mine, added Commander Felnara of the Aquatic Forces. These humans may have surprised our scouts, but they cannot stand against our full military might. Admiral Veltar nodded grimly. Operation Cleansing Wave will commence in 72 hours. Every available ship will converge on the human home system. We will offer them one final chance to surrender and accept Confederation membership. If they refuse, he didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. For the first time in their peaceful history, the Confederation was prepared to destroy an entire species. But Admiral Veltar had underestimated both the speed of human expansion and their intelligence network. The attack fleet never reached Earth. 60 light-years from the human home system, the massive Confederation armada found its path blocked by a single human ship. The vessel was small, sleek, and completely unimpressive compared to the hundreds of massive warships bearing down on it. Confederation fleet, came the transmission. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You are approaching human-protected space. Please state your intentions. Admiral Veltar recognized the name from intelligence reports. This was the same human who had captured the first Confederation team. Captain Chen, you are facing the combined military might of 300 species. Stand aside or be destroyed. I'm afraid I can't do that, Admiral, but I'd like to offer you an alternative. We don't negotiate with primitives. Primitives? Captain Chen's laugh came through the communication system. Admiral, look around you. Do you see any other human ships? Admiral Veltar checked his sensors. The lone human vessel was indeed alone, facing impossible odds. Your point? My point is that we don't need to be here to defeat you. Before Admiral Veltar could ask what she meant, his communications officer called out in alarm. Sir, we're receiving emergency signals from across the galaxy. What kind of signals? Distress calls, sir. From Confederation worlds. They're under attack. Admiral Veltar felt his blood freeze. Impossible. All human ships are accounted for. Not human ships, sir, the officer clarified. The attacks are coming from member species themselves. The reports flooded in faster than they could process them. The mining world of Kelvar 3 had declared independence and was demanding Confederation forces leave immediately. The agricultural colonies in the Centauri cluster were refusing to ship food to other worlds unless they received better compensation. Industrial centers were shutting down production, claiming human-supplied technology was more efficient than Confederation systems. "This is rebellion," General Coxtar snarled. "Multiple species are defying Confederation authority simultaneously." "No," Captain Chen's voice cut through their confusion. "This is choice. What have you done?" Admiral Veltar demanded. "We've given your people options," she replied calmly. "Better medical care, more efficient technology, fairer trade agreements. Turns out a lot of species weren't as happy with Confederation membership as you thought. You're disrupting galactic civilization. We're offering competition, something your Confederation never had before." Admiral Veltar began to understand the scope of the disaster. While the Confederation had focused on the human military threat, humans had been quietly making contact with dissatisfied member species. They offered better deals, superior technology, and something the Confederation never provided: choice. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we're getting detailed breakdowns of the situation. 17 industrial worlds have suspended Confederation contracts. 23 agricultural colonies are demanding renegotiated terms. 47 mining operations are threatening to switch to human buyers. And the military situations? Local defense forces on 12 worlds have declared neutrality. They're refusing orders to suppress the economic revolts." Admiral Veltar closed his eyes. The Confederation was collapsing, not from military conquest but from simple market forces. The humans had offered better services than the established government, and worlds were choosing to switch suppliers. "This is still salvageable," General Coxtar insisted. "We crush the humans, then restore order to the rebellious worlds." "With what?" Admiral Veltar asked bitterly. "Half our fleet is needed to maintain order at home. The other half is here, facing a single human ship that somehow represents a threat to hundreds of vessels." "One ship cannot defeat this fleet," Commander Felnara stated. Captain Chen answered as if she had heard them. "You're right, Commander. One ship can't defeat your fleet. But we don't need to defeat you. We just need to make fighting us more expensive than trading with us." "Explain," Admiral Veltar demanded. "Every ship in your fleet requires rare metals for maintenance, food for crews, and fuel for FTL travel. Where do you think those supplies come from?" The awful truth dawned on the Admiral. "The worlds that are currently in revolt." "Exactly. Your supply lines are compromised. Your crews have families on worlds that are questioning Confederation loyalty. Your entire war effort depends on the cooperation of species that now have better alternatives." Admiral Veltar checked with his logistics officer. The report was devastating. Supply shipments were being delayed or canceled across the galaxy. Fuel deliveries were months behind schedule. Even basic food supplies were becoming uncertain as agricultural worlds demanded new contracts. "You've weaponized our own economy against us," he realized. "We've introduced free market competition to a monopoly," Captain Chen corrected. "The results are what you'd expect." "This is not war," General Coxtar protested. This is how humans fight when we can't win with pure force," Captain Chen said. "We find other ways to win." Admiral Veltar stared at the tactical display showing his massive fleet. On paper, it was the most powerful military force in galactic history. In reality, it was already defeated. His ships couldn't fight effectively without supplies. His crews couldn't focus on battle while their families faced uncertainty at home. His government was losing authority as worlds discovered they had alternatives. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Recognition of human sovereignty over our claimed territories, non-interference agreements regarding species that choose to trade with us instead of the Confederation, and formal acknowledgement that Confederation law applies only to Confederation members. That would destroy everything we've built." "No, Admiral. It would force you to earn what you've been taking for granted." The truth was brutal but clear. For 1,000 years, the Confederation had ruled through benevolent monopoly. They were the only source of advanced technology, the only option for interstellar trade, the only path to galactic citizenship. Species joined because they had no choice. Now they did. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority message from the Confederation Council." Admiral Veltar read the message with growing despair. The Council was ordering him to return home immediately. Too many worlds were declaring independence or demanding new terms. The Confederation needed its military to maintain domestic order, not fight a war it couldn't afford. "Captain Chen," he said finally, "it appears we have reached a stalemate." "No, Admiral. You've reached a new reality. The galaxy is big enough for both of us. And if we refuse to accept this reality, then you'll discover what happens when a government depends entirely on the consent of the governed, and that consent is withdrawn." Admiral Veltar looked around at his officers. They were the finest military minds in the galaxy, trained for 1,000 years of peace and cooperation. None of them knew how to fight an enemy that attacked economic systems instead of military targets, that conquered through better service instead of superior force. "Recall the fleet," he ordered quietly. "We're going home." As the massive Confederation armada turned away from Earth, Admiral Veltar realized they had lost without firing a shot. The humans had found a way to win without destroying anything, to conquer without occupying, to rule without governing. They had turned the galaxy's own success against it, and there was nothing the Confederation could do to stop them. Behind them, Captain Chen's lone ship continued its patrol, protecting a human empire that was growing by the day through the simple act of offering people better choices. The war that everyone expected had become a revolution that no one saw coming. And the humans were winning at one trade agreement at a time. Dr. Kethavar looked out the window of what had once been the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation. Below her, the city of New Geneva buzzed with activity that would have been impossible 5 years ago. Humans walked alongside aliens of dozens of species, conducting business in the efficient, competitive way that had become the new normal. Her title now was Special Advisor on Non-Human Relations for the Terran Colonial Administration. The irony was not lost on her. She had come to Earth to offer humans galactic citizenship. Instead, she had ended up working for them. Dr. Kethavar? The voice belonged to Admiral Sarah Chen, the same human who had captured her during that first disastrous contact. Chen now wore the uniform of the Terran Defense Force and carried the rank of Fleet Admiral. "Yes, Admiral? We've received another request for mediation. The Crystalline Confederacy and the Aquatic Alliance are having a trade dispute over shipping routes through the Vega sector." Kethavar nodded and made notes on her data pad. "I'll schedule a meeting." The usual terms. Human arbitration, with binding decisions enforceable by TDF patrol ships. 5 years ago, such a statement would have been unthinkable. Now it was routine. The humans had become the galaxy's police force, arbitrators, and ultimately its rulers, all without firing a shot in anger. "How many applications for Terran protection did we receive this week?" Kethavar asked. Admiral Chen checked her own device. 47 new worlds requesting protection status, 12 former Confederation colonies asking to switch to Terran administration, and 3 entirely new species that were discovered by our exploration fleets. New species, yes. Apparently they'd been hiding from the Confederation for centuries, afraid of being forced to join. When they heard humans offer protection without requiring membership, they came forward. Kethavar felt the familiar ache of loss. The Confederation had prided itself on discovering and welcoming new species. Now she learned that dozens of intelligent races had been hiding from them out of fear. "What happened to the Confederation Council?" she asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "Still meeting," Admiral Chen replied. "They govern about 30 worlds now, down from over 3,000 at their peak. Most of their former members have either joined the Terran Protection Alliance or formed independent governments. Do they still blame us for the collapse?" Admiral Chen smiled, though it was gentler than the predatory expressions Kethavar remembered from their first meetings. "Dr. Kethavar, your people didn't cause this. They just revealed problems that already existed. I opened the portal," Kethavar said quietly. "Everything that followed happened because of my decision." "You opened a door," Admiral Chen corrected. "What people chose to walk through it was their decision." Through the window, Kethavar could see the memorial they had built in the center of the city. The black stone monument was engraved with names, thousands upon thousands of them. These were not war casualties. They were the species, cultures, and individuals who had been lost during the transition to the new galactic order. Some had committed suicide rather than adapt to the changed galaxy. Others had suffered complete cultural collapse when their traditional ways of life became obsolete overnight. Entire civilizations had withered and died not because humans destroyed them, but because they could not compete with human efficiency and innovation. "The galaxy still counts the dead," Kethvar murmured, reading the inscription on the memorial. "Yes," Admiral Chen said solemnly, "we count them too. Every name represents our failure to find a gentler way. Do you regret it? What humanity has done?" Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of command and the burden of consequences. "We regret the deaths. We regret the suffering, but we don't regret refusing to be controlled by people who thought they knew what was best for us, even if they were right. Even if Confederation membership would have made humanity safer and more prosperous. Even then, freedom is worth more than safety." Kethvar had spent 5 years trying to understand this human concept. Her own species, like most in the former Confederation, valued security above all else. They preferred the certainty of being cared for to the uncertainty of making their own choices. Humans were different. They would rather struggle and fail on their own than succeed under someone else's guidance. This fundamental difference in values had reshaped the galaxy. "Admiral," an aide interrupted, "we have a priority communication from Deep Space Monitor Station 7. Admiral Chen activated the holographic display. The face that appeared belonged to Captain Rodriguez, a human officer stationed at the edge of known space. "Admiral, we've detected a massive energy signature approximately 50 light-years beyond our current borders. The pattern matches known portal technology." Both Kethvar and Admiral Chen froze. Portal technology meant only one thing: contact with another galaxy or dimension. "Confederation technology?" Admiral Chen asked. "Negative, Admiral. This is something new, much more powerful than anything we've seen before." "Are you detecting any ships or structures?" "Not yet, but the energy signature is growing stronger. Whatever is opening this portal, it's much larger than the original predecessor device." Admiral Chen turned to Kethvar. "Doctor, in your expert opinion, what could generate a portal signature that strong?" Kethvar felt a chill run through her body. "Only 2 possibilities, Admiral. Either someone has technology far beyond anything the predecessors built, or whatever is coming through is massive enough to require a portal of unprecedented size." Admiral Chen's expression hardened into the look Kethvar had learned meant trouble was coming. "Captain Rodriguez, I want continuous monitoring of that signature. Deploy stealth probes to the area and establish a communication relay. If anything comes through that portal, I want to know about it immediately." "Understood, Admiral." The communication ended, leaving them alone with troubling thoughts. "Should we contact the former Confederation worlds?" Kethvar asked. "This could be a threat to everyone, eventually. But first, we need to understand what we're dealing with." Admiral Chen walked to the memorial window and stared out at the busy city below. Humans and aliens worked together, traded together, lived together in ways that the old Confederation had claimed to promote but never achieved. "Dr. Kethvar, when your people first came through that portal, what did you expect to find? A primitive species that would be grateful for our guidance, and instead you found a species that rejected your authority and competed with your systems." "Yes, now something else is opening a portal. Something with technology that makes ours look primitive." Kethvar understood the implication. "You think they might view us the way we viewed humans?" "I think we're about to find out what happens when predators meet something higher on the food chain." Admiral Chen turned back to her desk and began typing commands into her computer. "What are you doing?" Kethvar asked, preparing for first contact. "Again. But we don't know anything about what's coming." Admiral Chen smiled, and this time it was the predatory expression Kethvar remembered from their first meeting. "Doctor, 5 years ago you opened a portal to a world you thought was full of primitives. How did that work out for you?" Kethvar didn't answer. She didn't need to. "Whoever is opening this new portal probably thinks the same thing about us," Admiral Chen continued. "They're about to learn what humanity has taught the galaxy. Never assume the primitives will be grateful for your help." She finished typing and looked up at Kethvar. "Begin preparations for a diplomatic mission. Standard first contact protocols. What if they're hostile? Then they'll discover what the Confederation learned. Humans don't like being told what to do, and now we've taught half the galaxy to think the same way." Admiral Chen activated the intercom system. This is Fleet Admiral Chen to all TDF commands. Implement alert status yellow. All exploration fleets are to return to protected space. All defensive systems are to be brought online. Unknown contact protocols are now in effect. As alarms began sounding throughout the building, Kethvar realized they were about to face the ultimate test. Humanity had conquered the galaxy not through force but through superior adaptation and innovation. Now something with even more advanced technology was approaching. "The galaxy still counts the dead," she said, reading the memorial inscription again. "Yes," Admiral Chen replied, "and we're about to find out if we'll be adding to that count." Outside the window, human and alien workers continued their daily routines, unaware that their new order was about to face its greatest challenge. The species that had reshaped the galaxy through competition and choice was about to meet something that might try to reshape them. But humanity had learned something important over the past 5 years. They were no longer alone in their refusal to be controlled. Half the galaxy now thought like humans, valued independence over security, and chose freedom over safety. Whatever was coming through that portal would not find the peaceful, submissive galaxy that humans had discovered. They would find a galaxy that had learned to fight for its freedom, and humanity had taught them very well.